2020 was a really weird year for movies in general. Obviously, with movie theaters closing down because of the pandemic, a lot of the movies that came out this year or were supposed to come out this year were just staggered or came out in a way that wasn't really the best way to watch a movie, and you just didn't know what the fuck was going on. I would say that's part of the reason why I didn't really see any movies this year, to be honest with you. Usually, I'm the type of person that would go to the movie theater and watch these movies and try to keep up and see at least 4 or 5 movies a month. This year, there were multiple months where I didn't see any movies. And I know there were some great movies this year, but for whatever reason, I just wasn't so inclined to watch them. I did see some movies, so that's why I'm still gonna do a top 5 movies of 2020. But before we get to my 5th favorite movie of 2020, I just want to give an honorable mention to Hamilton. I personally decided to not categorize this play as a movie, even though it was released as a movie, because it's just a recorded play. You know what I mean? It's literally a play. This isn't like The Prom, where it was adapted to the big screen or small screen because it's Netflix. So I'll just give it an honorable mention of something I loved, but wasn't really a movie in my opinion. But with that out of the way, my 5th favorite movie of 2020 was Palm Springs. How many times have we seen the concept of you dying and living a day over and over and over again? A lot. That's why I love Palm Springs, because it was able to accomplish this type of story, this trite story at this point, and make it fresh and original and add that type of energy, that type of Lonely Island energy that I love. The humor was all there. Obviously, it's a Lonely Island joint, but the thing that also made this movie really good was just how kind of introspective and deep it got. It asked some really big questions that I was watching the movie with my sister, and we kind of were just talking about it for like 5 to 10 minutes. Like, we just paused the movie and just talked about that concept, because there were really interesting concepts that were laid out in this movie. Also, the movie goes into really unexpected places that I didn't really see coming, and it ended in the best way it possibly could have ended. So that's why I loved it so much. Now, my 4th favorite movie of the year was The Invisible Man. One of the few movies that actually was able to be released the proper way this year that actually was great, because this movie came out like the 1st or 2nd week of March, like literally weeks or days before the whole world shut down. The thing that really shocked me and really made me love this movie a lot was just how fucking dark it was. And no, I'm not talking about just the way it looked for the majority of the movie, but it makes sense with what the movie is trying to say. Ultimately, it's supposed to be this allegory for gaslighting, and that kind of turned a lot of people off, because a lot of people are douchebags that gaslight themselves, and then they didn't want to see that on the screen, so they were like, what the fuck is this SJW bullshit? That's how you know somebody's just an idiot if they say SJW. Like, that's just how you know. But people get confused because they think just because this movie is about gaslighting that it's gonna be this overly correct movie. Like I said, this movie goes to some places you would never fucking expect. All in all, it was just an amazingly done movie. Lee Whannell knocked it out of the park with his movie Upgrade, which I enjoyed, but didn't really have anything to say besides it just being a fun movie. But with The Invisible Man, he was able to add all the cool shit that was an Upgrade and give it a proper story and theme and message in just a way deeper topic. So you can be annoyed at the politics of the movie or whatever the fuck you want to do, but you cannot deny this movie's great. Alright, my 3rd favorite movie of the year that I cannot believe came out this year is The Platform. This movie got a lot of buzz last year in 2019 when it premiered in a bunch of festivals. A lot of people were raving about it. Netflix was able to buy the rights to it and put it out early 2020. That's why it feels like such a fuzzy memory of a movie, because it was really early before the whole world went to shit, but it's still a really great movie. I mean, this movie, when you talk about really horrifically gory movies, for whatever reason, I just didn't expect this movie to be one of those. I guess because the concept is so interesting, I didn't think it was going to go that way with the gore, but it did, and it only served the story even more. The type of story this movie's telling, it requires that kind of horrific sights to really drive home the point of how insane this situation is. In concept alone, this movie was going to be really enjoyable. But then you throw biblical themes into the mix, and then you add twists and turns you can never see coming, and the pace of it is just unrelenting. And then you give the movie a heart. I mean, that's just how you get a winning combination, and that's what this movie was. I feel like the pandemic seriously hurt this movie at being really seen by a lot of people. I feel like when it came out, some people watched it, but not that many, and then as soon as the pandemic happened, this movie got completely buried, especially by Netflix. But this is me now telling you that if you did miss this movie from the beginning of the year, go back and watch it on Netflix, find it, and you will not regret it. Alright, my 2nd favorite movie of the year, and one movie that I feel like nobody even knows about. I don't even know how I was able to even watch it. I don't know how it came into my radar, but it did, and it's The Vast of Night. This movie is really interesting because this movie, as I was watching it, gave me the vibe that 2020 gave me, which was just unsettling uncertainty. That's the best way to describe 2020, and that was the best way to describe this movie. I mean, from the way that this movie starts, you're just like, what the fuck am I watching? Just from the combination of really long scenes with weird cinematography, an interesting monologue, and interesting tension that was built throughout this, it was just an experience that I don't think I'll ever forget. And it's not even like this is like the best movie of the year in a technical sense. It's not like a fucking epic. It's not like a fucking Marvel movie where it's so interesting. It doesn't have the biggest budget. It's just the experience that you feel while watching it. You will never ever forget it. So for that alone, it deserves to be my second favorite movie of the year. But we're here. We're finally at the top of my top 5 favorite movies of the year, and it is none other than Christopher Nolan's Tenet. Surprisingly, one of the most divisive movies of the year, but for the dumbest reasons. If the movie's dialogue being kind of hard to hear was the only reason you hated this movie, I don't know what the fuck to tell you. That's just stupid. For whatever reason, people chose to just focus on that one flaw that this movie had and hammer it home and make it seem like this was the worst fucking movie of the year. When in reality, to me, it was one of the most mind-blowing movies of the year. I mean, there's this segment halfway through this movie that you watch, and in the theater, I was just like, what the fuck am I watching? It honestly gave me the same feeling that Avengers Endgame gave me, in like, how the fuck is it possible for somebody to even make this a movie? Yes, I understand the characters in this movie aren't that fleshed out. Yes, I understand this movie didn't really have that much heart. Yes, I understand the fucking audio was kind of hard to hear sometimes. But me personally, I'm able to ignore all that shit if I'm seeing a piece of art from somebody who's a master at their craft. And that's what Tenet really proved, is that Christopher Nolan is just a master of filmmaking, especially science fiction, and just crazy time-bending stories that he has in his head. Like, I still can't even really grasp how the fuck this inversion concept works in this movie. But, like the movie says,
don't try to understand it. Feel it.
So yeah, those are my top 5 movies of the year. Like I said in the beginning of this year, I was really slacking with a lot of the movies I didn't watch, but you best believe, starting January 1st, 2021, I'm going to be watching every single movie that comes out. No, not really. That's crazy. But I'm definitely going to go out of my way to watch as many movies as possible and really get engrossed into the culture of a film fan, which I kind of lost throughout this year. So yeah, that's the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in any other video you may decide to watch on this YouTube channel.